All right, so let's jump into the world of AI in vehicles, specifically looking at Geely, the Chinese automotive giant, and whether or not they're going to end up using versus AI's genius platform.
Yeah, Geely is known for incorporating some really cutting-edge technology, and I
Right.
think particularly across all their different brands. They've already partnered with DeepSeek AI to enhance safety, intelligent driving features, and that's pretty impressive to see.
Yeah, it seems like DeepSeek is really focused on those reactive safety features,
Yeah.
helping vehicles react quickly to threats. But then we have versus AI with their genius platform, which it's like having this like super smart co-pilot, that reasons and predicts and learns from experience.
And what's so interesting about Genius is it uses this concept called active inference, which is kind of a complex idea. But essentially, it's like this. So imagine you're driving down the street and you come to an intersection. A traditional AI system would mainly just react to what it can see at that very moment. But Genius actually considers the context as well. It might think, okay, well, based on what I've seen before, sometimes people run red lights here, so there's a chance that could happen again.
So it's not just reacting to a car running a red light. It's like anticipating it and maybe taking evasive action before it even happens.
That's exactly it. It's about predicting the unpredictable, which is really a game changer for safety, especially as we move towards autonomous vehicles. Even things like flying taxis and eVTOLs and all of that.
Yes. Speaking of eVTOLs, I mean, the level of AI needed to keep those things safely zipping around cities, it's going to be insane. I mean, you've got to deal with traffic, but then you've also got birds and drones and who knows what else up there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's where a system like Genius could really excel. It's designed to handle these complex environments where you have to make decisions super quickly.
Yeah.
It's like a brain that's always looking around, analyzing, predicting, and making sure that everything runs smoothly.
Okay. Genius sounds great in theory, but how is it actually performed in the real world?
Well, one really interesting example that gives us some insight is, one of Geely's brands, Volvo. They've actually partnered with Versus AI, and they've had some pretty impressive results.
Oh, yeah. I read about that. Wasn't it something about Genius predicting the movements of pedestrians even when they were blocked by parked cars?
Yes, exactly. And, think about how difficult that is for traditional AI systems
Yeah.
because they really depend on being able to clearly see things in order to identify and track them. But Genius, with this active inference capability, it can actually anticipate the pedestrian's movement even if they're hidden.
Yeah. That's amazing. So if it can do that, I can definitely see why Geely would be interested in putting it into their other brands, especially since they've already been putting all these cutting edge technologies across their whole portfolio. It's like they have a good eye for finding these promising technologies and then spreading them around to all their different companies.
Yeah, and that's a really important point. Geely has a long history of this kind of thing. Like they've
Hmm.
developed these modular architecture platforms, the CMA and the SEA, and these platforms allow them to streamline production and share technologies across all these different models and brands, which makes them more efficient and saves them money.
So if Genius really takes off with Volvo, it wouldn't be surprising to see it becoming a standard feature in all their future vehicles across all their brands.
Yeah, it's definitely a real possibility, but to really get a sense of how likely that is, we need to look a bit closer at Geely's overall AI strategy.
Right, because even if the technology is incredible, it still has to fit into their bigger plans. It's like having a fantastic ingredient. It's not going to do you any good if it doesn't work with the recipe you're trying to make.
Geely's approach to technology has always been pretty strategic. It's not like they're just jumping on the latest trends. They're really looking for ways to make everything work together and use their size to their advantage.
So how does that apply to their AI plans? Are they looking for like a one-size-fits-all AI solution, or are they open to using different systems for different things?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, we know they're already using DeepSeek AI for reactive safety and driver assistance, but Genius with its predictive capabilities, that's a whole different ball
It's
game.
almost like DeepSeek is the safety net, and Genius is like this super attentive co-pilot who's always looking ahead, trying to anticipate any problems.
Exactly. And this is where Geely's history of standardizing technology across all their brands gets really interesting. They really like creating these shared platforms and ecosystems like those modular architectures we talked about earlier.
So you're thinking Genius could become part of that ecosystem? We
Mhm.
could see it not just in Volvos, but also in like Lotus and Proton, even Zeeker. their EV brand?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Imagine Genius being the brains behind one unified intelligent driving system for all Geely vehicles, handling everything from basic things like adaptive cruise control and lane keeping to more advanced stuff like predicting and preventing hazards.
That would be a huge selling point for Geely. They could really position themselves as leaders in safety and innovation, offering a level of intelligent driving that nobody else can match.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just safety, too. Genius could also create a more personalized and intuitive driving experience. Imagine a car that learns your driving habits and anticipates your needs and adjusts everything accordingly.
So if I always blast the AC on my way home from work, my Geely with Genius would just automatically start cooling things down a few minutes before I usually arrive.
That's just one example. It could also learn your favorite routes, adjust the suspension to match your driving style, even suggest restaurants you might like based on your tastes. The possibilities are kind of crazy.
Let's not get carried away, though. Even if Geely is impressed with how Genius is working in Volvo cars, there could still be some roadblocks to using it everywhere, right?
Oh, of course, every brand under the Geely umbrella has some independence. They might have their own AI partners already, or specific requirements, or even just a different idea of what they want their cars to be like. So getting everyone on board with Genius might not be easy.
And we have to think about the competition, too. Geely's not the only one working on autonomous driving. Tesla, Volkswagen, Toyota,
Yeah.
they're all investing heavily in AI and pushing the limits of what's possible.
Exactly. If Geely wants to stay ahead of the game, they need to have a really strong and flexible AI strategy. And that might mean working with a bunch of different technologies and partners, including companies like Versus AI.
It's like putting together an all-star team of AI experts, each one bringing something unique to the table.
And that brings us to another really important part of all this public perception.
Oh, right. How do people feel about letting AI take the wheel? Are they ready to trust something like Genius with their safety?
That's the big question. And it's not just about trusting the technology, it's about how AI is going to change our relationship with cars and transportation in general.
Are people going to love the convenience and safety of autonomous driving? Or will they resist giving up control? Will they see AI as a helpful co-pilot or a potential threat?
These are all really complicated questions that Geely and all the other car companies are going to have to figure out as they keep developing AI. And it's not just about marketing and PR either. It's about designing these systems in a way that builds trust, transparency, and accountability.
So it's not just a technology challenge, it's a societal challenge too. We have to think carefully about the ethical implications of AI, especially when it comes to something as important as transportation.
Absolutely. We need to make sure that these systems are developed and used responsibly with human safety and well-being as the top priorities.
Yeah, it seems like there are huge potential benefits to using AI in vehicles, but there are also some serious things to consider before we all jump into self-driving cars. But let's step back for a minute. We've been talking a lot about Geely and their passenger vehicles. But could this Genius platform be used for other types of vehicles too?
That's a really interesting question, and it really gets to the heart of what this technology can do. Genius is a cognitive computing platform. It's not just for cars. It's designed to understand and navigate any kind of complex environment.
So theoretically, it could make all kinds of vehicles safer and more efficient. We're talking trucks, ships, even planes.
Absolutely. The same principles of active inference and predictive modeling that work for cars, they can be applied to any system where safety and decision-making are really important.
Okay, so I'm picturing a huge cargo ship with Genius, navigating a busy shipping channel. It's anticipating the movements of all the other ships and avoiding collisions, or maybe an airplane, using Genius to find the best flight path, taking into account the weather, other planes, even potential bird strikes.
Those are great examples, and it goes beyond safety, too. Genius could also help save fuel, reduce emissions, and even make logistics and scheduling more efficient.
So it's not just about making things a little better. We're talking about a potential revolution in transportation across the board. But I imagine it would take a lot of work to adapt Genius to all these different situations.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Every transportation system has its own unique rules and regulations and ways of operating. You can't just take a system that's designed to predict how people walk and expect it to suddenly be able to control air traffic.
You'd need tons of data specific to each type of vehicle, and you'd have to work closely with experts in those fields to make sure Genius is trained and integrated properly.
Exactly. It would be a huge undertaking. But the potential benefits could be massive. Imagine a world where every form of transportation is powered by intelligent predictive systems, all working together to create a safer, more efficient, and more sustainable global network.
That's a pretty inspiring vision.
Right.
But it also shows how important companies like Geely could be in making this future a reality. If they really embrace and invest in a technology like Genius, they could not only improve their own vehicles, but also become a leader in the evolution of transportation as a whole.
That's a key point. By taking the lead in this technological revolution, Geely could set industry standards, influence regulations, and even license their technology to other companies, which would speed up the adoption of these advanced systems all over the world.
It's like they could become the Intel inside of the transportation world,
Yeah.
brains behind a whole new generation of intelligent vehicles.
It's a big goal for sure, but Geely has a track record of pushing boundaries and changing the game. If anyone can make this happen, it might just be them.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. We started by wondering if Geely might use Genius in their cars, and now we're talking about a future where all kinds of transportation are powered by this incredible technology.
It's been a fascinating conversation, and I think it really shows the amazing power of human ingenuity and our desire to keep pushing forward.
So to our listeners, we hope this has sparked your curiosity and left you thinking about all the exciting possibilities that lie ahead in the world of AI and transportation. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.